Good morning, this is Mission Control Houston. We are coming to you live from the International Space Station's Flight Control Room. This is our coverage of the release and departure of Northrop Grumman's Cygnus cargo spacecraft from the International Space Station. We are currently targeting an on-time release at 5:55 a.m. Central. You're looking at a live view of the Cygnus spacecraft attached to the end of the International Space Station's Canadarm2 robotic arm. The Cygnus cargo spacecraft, named the SS Francis R. Dick Scobie, is Northrop Grumman's 21st commercial resupply services mission. Now that Cygnus has successfully delivered more than 8,200 pounds of cargo to the space station, the spacecraft is set to depart after a 234-day stay. Cygnus is currently situated in its release position at the end of the station's robotic arm, sitting just over 15 meters away from the orbiting laboratory. This morning, we'll follow along as Cygnus is released from the station's robotic arm, completes a 4-minute departure burn, and maneuvers away from the space station through the keep-out sphere and the approach ellipsoid. Once the Cygnus spacecraft reaches the approach ellipsoid, it will go on to further distance itself from the space station, and though our live coverage will end, Cygnus will go on to burn up harmlessly in Earth's atmosphere, getting rid of over 4 tons of waste on Sunday morning at approximately 5:10 a.m. Central Time.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. We are go for Cygnus configuration checks. Please perform Step 2 in 1.602 Cygnus release and departure monitoring.
Copies. We're in Step 2 of 1.602.
You just heard that call relayed up to the station. They are go for config checks, and we are getting ready for the go, no-go poll for release of Cygnus. Flight controllers here in Mission Control are in joint operations, working with their counterparts at Northrop Grumman's Control Center in Dulles, Virginia, on today's departure. Today's operation is ground-based, meaning that the flight controllers here in Mission Control are working the operation. And also overseeing today's operation is NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers aboard the space station. She'll provide an extra set of eyes to assist those on the ground this morning from the station's window to the world known as the cupola.
Cygnus configuration checks complete. Crew is ready for release and departure.
Houston copies.
That was the voice of Nicole Ayers in our Capcom here in Mission Control. Before our coverage began today, robotics operators here in Mission Control received the go to demate Cygnus. They then used the robotic arm to uninstall the spacecraft from its port to guide it away from the space station and into its release position where you just saw it a few moments ago. Currently, the team here in Mission Control is polling go or no go to release Cygnus, and we are about 10 minutes away from that go no go call. We are 20 minutes out from the scheduled release time of Cygnus, and let's take a moment to recap Northrop Grumman's 21st Commercial Resupply Services mission to the International Space Station. This spacecraft kicked off its mission on August 4th, 2024, launching on a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. On board, the spacecraft contained more than 8,200 pounds of scientific investigations, equipment, technology demonstrations, and supplies such as food for the crew living and working aboard the orbiting laboratory. A few hours after liftoff, Cygnus deployed both of its cylindrical solar arrays and continued to make its way to the space station. Arriving to station 2 days later on August 6th, and following its automated approach and rendezvous, NASA astronaut Matthew Dominic captured Cygnus with the Canadarm2 robotic arm. And this maneuver marked the 50th free-flying capture for Canadarm2. Just over 2 hours later after that capture, flight controllers on Earth remotely commanded the Canadarm2 and installed Cygnus to the Unity module's Earth-facing port, where it's been parked for 234 days. And that brings us to today. You're looking at a real-time map of the International Space Station's position and its position over the world, currently traveling south at about
260 miles.
You see the space station here on this map is traveling 234 miles an hour south over the Pacific. You'll notice that on either side of the screen it looks slightly darker. These indicate orbital nighttime periods. The International Space Station sees 16 sunrises and sunsets a day, and this map serves as a great representation of how that works. As you see here, the International Space Station is exiting an orbital nighttime period, and it's about to enter orbital daytime. With that move into orbital daytime comes a sunrise that we're expecting around 5:39 a.m. Central. Visibility on the Cygnus cargo spacecraft while it's in an orbital daytime will provide optimal visibility for teams here on the ground and for NASA astronaut Nicole Ayers aboard station. We are 15 minutes away from release. Back to the room now. This is the International Space Station's flight control room. Flight Director Elias Mirmo is overseeing today's spacecraft departure. He is the 103rd flight director in NASA's history. His role today is to work closely with his team of flight controllers to oversee this operation. Seated to his left is Flight Director Rodak Deve, providing a second set of eyes. Capcom, or capsule communicator, who you see to Elias Mirmo's right, is David Brenna on console today. Capcom.
I'm still on Space Ground 2 for Dawn and NanoRax caps.
Capcom, or capsule communicator, David Brenna is on console today. In his position, he serves as the primary communication between mission control and the crew aboard station. You've already heard his voice talking to Nicole today.
Huntsville Station, on to go.
Hey, we just wanted to let you know that we were watching and we saw those caps you had tried to velcro down on the table. Looked like they floated up and out of frame, so not quite sure where they ended up, but they should be nearby.
Thanks for the observation. Let me hunt around for those errant caps.
Copy. And after you find those, or for the rest of this activity, please meet us on Spaceground 4 so we can keep 2 clear for Cygnus.
And while Nicole Ayers is helping keep an eye on today's departure, you're hearing the voice of Capcom.
Station on 2, this is Ann, looking for a go in step 12.1 for my vestibule part 6.
With you on 2, Ann, you have a go.
Nicole Ayers continues to monitor Cygnus, but you've been hearing Capcom communicating with NASA astronauts Don Pettit and Ann McLean. The visiting vehicle officer today is Nick Lopez, and to his left is Nate Idalto. That was Nate Ilatalo, who is providing a second set of eyes there with the visiting vehicle officer. The robo team is led by Casey Chen. And of course, we are currently in joint operations with Northrop Grumman's team at their facility in Dulles, Virginia. We are 1 minute away from the go, no go for release and departure.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. We are go for Cygnus departure on time. Please perform steps 3 and 4 in 1.602, Cygnus release and departure monitoring.
Station copies, go for release on time, and steps 3 and 4 of 1.602.
Good readback.
It's a good call. The flight control team here in Houston just pulled go for the release and departure of the Cygnus spacecraft, and the crew aboard station confirmed they are ready for release as well. We are just under 10 minutes away from the scheduled Cygnus release at 5:55 a.m. Central, 6:55 a.m. Eastern. Northrop Grumman names each Cygnus spacecraft in honor of an individual who has made great contributions to human spaceflight. For the company's 21st resupply mission, Cygnus is named in honor of Francis R. Dick Scobie. An Air Force pilot with more than 6,500 hours of flying time in 45 different types of aircraft, NASA selected Scobie as an astronaut in 1978. On his first spaceflight in 1984, he served as pilot of STS-41C aboard Space Shuttle Challenger. And 2 years later, in 1986, he then was the commander of STS-51L aboard the Challenger orbiter. The Challenger crew of STS-51L, including Scobie, lost their lives in the pursuit of furthering the cause of exploration and discovery. This Cygnus spacecraft was named in his honor. We are 6 minutes away from Cygnus' planned release at 5:55 a.m. Central, and the International Space Station is currently flying 260 miles over the South Atlantic Ocean, having just passed over the southernmost tip of South America.
station. I'm still on Space Ground 2 for Dawn and Nanoracks at your convenience.
Houston Station for vestibule part 6.
With you on 2A, go ahead.
Yeah, I can give you step 13.11. The VV vestibule depress and leg check procedure is completed.
Houston copies. Station Houston on Space to Ground 2. ISS thrusters inhibited and ground M1 is go for release on time.
And copies go for release on time.
You just heard that go for release on time and confirmation that flight controllers have disabled the space station's thrusters. The reason they do this is when the robotic arm releases the spacecraft, they need the space station to stay in the same orientation with no motion, as they want to make sure that there are no automatic thrusters firing. And we are just under a minute from release.
Station Houston on 2, proceeding with release.
Station copies.
Release commanded.
Station copies.
Snares open. Begin monitoring for drift out.
Copy.
We'll soon begin to see the spacecraft flying free away from the arm.
Station Finn has exited the lead. Go for back away.
Cygnus was successfully released from the International Space Station's robotic arm at 5:57 a.m. Central, 6:57 a.m. Eastern.
Back away in progress.
Copy.
At the time of release, space station was flying over the Atlantic Ocean west of Africa.
Houston Station SSRMS to vehicle clearance approximately 1.5 meters.
Houston copies.
Station saying vehicle clearance approximately 4.5 meters.
Houston copies.
You're looking at a close-up view now from the International Space Station's robotic arm, and you just heard Nicole Ayers on board Space Station confirm that Cygnus is 4.5 meters away from the robotic arm.
Station Houston on 2, back away complete.
Station copies.
You just heard that call for back away complete, and we are standing by for the departure burn, the 4-minute departure burn that will place the spacecraft on a 24-hour safe trajectory away from the International Space Station.
Houston Station, Cygnus depart commanded.
Cygnus departure burn is in progress. Monitor departure burn, step 5 and 1.602.
Step 5 of 1.602.
Departure burn is underway and will last a little over 4 minutes to begin moving the spacecraft further away from the space station, which is currently a little over 18 meters away. There's a little over 2 minutes left in the burn, and the Cygnus spacecraft, is about to exit the keep-out sphere. There's about 1 minute left in the departure burn.
Station Houston on Space to Ground 2, Cygnus departure burn complete. Perform step 6 in 1.602.
Station copies, and step 6 is complete of 1.602.
Houston copies. Station Houston on Space to Ground 2, Cygnus has exited the 200-meter keep-out sphere.
Station copies. Cygnus is outside the keep-out sphere.
And you just heard the call that shortly after the departure burn completed, Cygnus exited the keep-out sphere. The departure burn was successful, and the Cygnus spacecraft has now exited the International Space Station's keep-out sphere.
Station Houston on 2 for Cygnus. We are complete with our ops for needed from you. You can keep monitoring the camera views as desired. We'll give you a call in about 12 minutes once Cygnus has exited the approach ellipsoid.
Station copies all.
If you're just joining us, Cygnus has exited the 200-meter keep-out sphere. It's safely separated from the robotic arm of the space station and was released at 5:57 a.m. Central, 6:57 a.m. Eastern. After Cygnus was released at 5:57 a.m. Central, it then completed a successful departure burn that lasted approximately 4 minutes. It then crossed the 200-meter keep-out sphere, and we are now standing by waiting for it to cross the approach ellipsoid. There's a graphic on your screen here of a representation of the keep-out sphere and the approach ellipsoid. We're about 10 minutes away, from the approach ellipsoid exit. The keep-out sphere, which you see here, is the first invisible boundary. It's 200 meters away from the station that serves as a safety marker surrounding the station. Cygnus is currently past the keep-out sphere, and it's en route to exit the approach ellipsoid. The approach ellipsoid is another invisible marker a little farther out from the International Space Station. After the vehicle crosses the approach ellipsoid, joint operations will end and will wrap up coverage, and responsibility of the vehicle is handed back to Northrop Grumman. Following a deorbit engine firing later this evening, Cygnus will begin a planned re-entry in which the spacecraft will safely and harmlessly burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. We're about 8 minutes away from the approach ellipsoid exit, and a unique capability with Cygnus is its trash disposal. While the astronauts aboard the International Space Station unloaded the 8,200 pounds that Cygnus delivered back in August, since then the crew has packed Cygnus again with trash and other unwanted items over the past 7.5 months it's been on station. Yesterday, NASA astronauts Nicole Ayers and Anne McClain finished packing Cygnus and configured the spacecraft for its release and departure today.
Station Cygnus depart commanded.
Cygnus departure burn is in progress. Monitor departure burn, step 5 and 1.602.
Step 5 of 1.602.
Departure burn is underway and will last a little over 4 minutes to begin moving the spacecraft further away from the space station, which is currently a little over 18 meters away.